So we'll take Ryan here. This is probably I would say one of the two or three most common questions. What about fighting false claims in court made against you? So I think that this is probably the most frightening struggle men go through in family court because of the burden of proof, because of how common they are. And the hardest thing to do is to deny or to prove that something that didn't happen didn't occur. So it can be very, very challenging because if there's no evidence it happened, you're going to have to go find evidence that it didn't happen. And a couple weeks ago, I had Keith Flynn and Brian Jackson on from the state of Oklahoma. And you could probably go to my YouTube page, The Father's Rights Attorney. We probably have a clip of that discussion. And Keith goes into a great deal of detail as to how he attacks these allegations. So you will have some tools at your disposal. For example, you'll have different discovery tools. So number one is putting your timeline, your story together, how things occurred, what happened, what didn't happen. So you have your solid timeline. And then it's going to be about getting as much information from the other side, whether it be through written discovery, your interrogatories, your request to produce, your request to admit, and then ultimately probably the number one tool. It doesn't get used a whole lot because of time and because of expense. But if you're able to do it, if you're fighting false accusations, if you can get an attorney to do a deposition to dive into your case, get your timeline put together, and then depose the other party, that's probably the most effective way to attack those issues, because it can be increasingly frustrating. Because a lot of times it ends up being he said, she said. If she's claiming on Tuesday, July 21st, you shoved her in your home and the kids were in bed, there's not going to be any evidence, most likely, unless you have security cameras in your home. There's not going to be any evidence it happened. There's not going to be any evidence that it didn't happen. And so it's going to be about putting as much information together as possible. And a lot of times that means getting the other party who's making the accusation to have to speak on the record as much as possible. And you can kind of pick apart their story.